Hey everyone, welcome to our Preps on 11 Web Extra Week 3 edition of the high school football season. Motoring right along. Week 2, gonna be hard to top. Crazy games last Friday across the board.
Oh yeah, no, it was exciting. We talked about it on the post-game show with Rex and Nelson. Just about the first few weeks of the season have been really eventful. There's been a lot of good stuff to talk about. So yeah, this week there's less games, but then we've got the conference season to look forward to next week. But yeah, that last week was really fun.
Yeah, a lot of teams taking that bye just to get ready for conference, but still a fun slate. We're going to start with some small school action. Des Arc heading to Carlisle.
Yeah, another kind of backyard brawl. And I have some obligations on Friday night, so I don't always get to go to games. You know, I'm doing two different radio appearances, and so if that was out the window, I would be there. I'd be at that game. I would love to be at that game. I think that's going to be a fun atmosphere. Those two schools, you know, the communities, it's a rivalry. And yeah, how about Brandon Barbary? You know, you go into they beat Hazen earlier in the year, and these two teams combined, Carlisle and Hazen wiped them out last year. But he's done a terrific job of getting them competitive this year, and I'm looking for a real close game in that game. And I think the league that Des Arc is in the northeast corner with EPC and some of those schools, I think they were kind of picked around the middle of the pack. I think they're taking notice of this. And if they win this game, you know, to go 3-0, look out for, you know, EPC's got a guy named Dennis Gaines, who's one of the top leading rushers in the country last year. But Des Arc could contend in that league, and I think this goes a long way. And if you're Carlisle, you know, you won you went to the championship game last year. Couple bumps, but you know, this would be a big game for them too going into the league.
Yeah, like I said, Hazen and Carlisle ran the 2A last year.
Yeah.
And they had their big rivalry game week 10, and then met again in the state finals.
Yeah.
So if Des Arc can go out on the road and beat them 2 weeks in a row, watch out. It's
huge for them and huge for Brandon Barbary, who, you know, he's bounced around to different schools, and, you know, talking last week with somebody that he's kind of found a home, and fit is so important when you're talking about players and coaches. He fits there, and they fit his system, and the results have spoken for themselves.
All right, let's talk about one of the teams that preseason you kind of had as your dark horse in the 7A. I think is a team that could take a big leap this year in Little Rock Southwest. You started to see that a little bit last week. They beat a Rogers Heritage team that not one of the best in the last decade or so, but still a team that in the past couple of years Southwest might have struggled with. Now they took care of business. They get Hot Springs at home. What do you expect from that one?
I think it'll be a good game, offensive showdown like last year. We'll talk about that in a minute, but going back to them and kind of the preseason expectations, there was a lot of hype surrounding them. You know, they've got a new quarterback in, Chase Forte, and he can throw the ball. He came from Parkview, and you know, so Daryl Patton scrapped a run-oriented offense and went to the spread, and so a lot of people like myself were, you know, kind of propping them up as a team that could be in that third or fourth spot. Then they went to Rogers and didn't play very well. But really what it was is Rogers is really good. And I think Rogers is a team now that you have to look at to contend with Bentonville and Fayetteville. They beat Fayetteville last year. So that might have been more of a situation where they went into a hornet's nest rather than, hey, they're not as good as we thought. Coming back and going back up the hill to Rogers to play Heritage and beating a team they should beat and drumming them, that was a good sign. Now you play Hot Springs, who can put up numbers. Matthew Contreras, every now and then I say this, and he's the best player you've never heard of. He is probably one of the better quarterbacks you haven't heard of. Eight passes, touchdowns in a game last year against Southwest. He's good. Daryl Burnett is a Buck James disciple. He's just that close to getting Hot Springs to that elite level. I mean, he's been there a few years now, and he's getting close. They showed signs of it last year. So this is going to be a good game between two teams that are trying to gain momentum. Derek Murdoch is another guy to watch at Southwest, and he's a good linebacker. I mean, they've got 3 or 4 guys on Southwest that are Division I caliber players. So Daryl Patton, trending in the right direction, wants to win this game so that he goes into the conference season kind of on a high, because he knows how rugged this is. They've seen it over the last couple of years, and they've taken a lot of lumps. They would love to be able to be in contention for a playoff spot period, but even if they could be in that third or fourth spot somehow, they would love to do that.
All right, on to the 6A now. Little Rock Catholic, definitely the surprise team of last year in the 6A. This year it feels like we've been kind of mirroring them to last year, and seeing, okay, can they do it again? Last year, that North Little Rock game was a bit of a shock when they won that one, and then it was the Benton win that really solidified, okay, the Rockets might be for real. This year, they go back, they beat North Little Rock, now they get Benton. Can they repeat last year?
They beat Greene County Tech. Yeah, no, I think they can. We've got a good running back in Dominic Keaton. I think what they've done is they've kind of do what good teams do, and they reload. I think some people thought, well, that was a flukish thing. That was a one-year deal. And I think that was their motivation during the offseason to prove that, hey, we're Catholic High. We're a football school. We are here. We're not going back down. Like, we're going to contend, and we want to be in position to be playing at War Memorial Stadium, our home field, for the championship. And they were very close to that last year. So this is a big game for both these teams because last year it basically decided the league, the championship. I feel real good about Catholic. I think they've got a lot of confidence. I think their defense plays good. Fogelman, everybody's on the same page there. This is going to be a tough game for them going to Benton. Braylon Russell, in all indications, he was supposed to start practicing Monday. I have not checked back to see if that happened, but that was the plan. He was planning to play in this game. He is a handful. We saw that against Bryant. He had 78 yards rushing, and that's a good defense. And he kept them in the game. They were only down 7-6 at the half. Also in that game, they lost Chris Bernard. He is more known for being an all-state safety, going to Harding to play safety, but he's the backup running back. So you're without those two guys. Against Sylvan Hills, still won 42-7. So having both of them back, they also got back one of their receivers, Elias Payne, and Gary Rideout, a defensive back that played quarterback last year. So what I'm saying is they are getting healthy right at the right time in this game. They've been wanting to get everybody healthy. They thought if they could go up to Sylvan Hills, even with their third and fourth running back, they could win the game. And then they were going to save Braylon Russell, and maybe he could have played. It was the playoffs, but they didn't want to force the issue. So now he should be much healthier. Bernard is. So that spells a little bit of trouble for Catholic. But I think they proved last year they could beat them. They're a team that's right there. So I think this is going to go right down the wire in the fourth quarter.
Well, they talked about last week, all the craziness, great wild finishes, 3 kickoff return touchdowns in our Friday Night Blitz highlights last week, which might be a record as far as I know. Yeah. But above it all, the story of the state, the Bryant streak finally ended. 54 games in a row against Arkansas schools that they won, but then it wasn't even another 7A school. It was Little Rock Parkview, the 5A state champs, who went into Bryant, held them off for that 1-point win. I mean, just what does this say about this Parkview team? And now they go up against North Little Rock at home. Can they do it again?
Let me say something that is going to both support Bryant and Parkview, because when Bryant lost this game, the popular mantra was they lost to a 5A school. Well, a couple things on that. The week before, they beat one of the top schools in the Midwest, CBC. So did you forget about that game? Because they won that game. Now, the other part of it is Parkview's not a typical 5A school. Brad Bolding talked about, hey, we're a 5A school in population, but we've got a 6A football roster. We've got a lot of kids. We're a big roster because a lot of kids are going out for football. So,
and they proved that last year in the 5A where no one was really close to it.
And I want to say this for them too. I think that if you took the top 7A teams and they all played them, they could beat Fayetteville, Bentonville, they could beat Greenwood, and they could beat Pulaski Academy. Now, would they beat them 10 out of 10? No. But could they beat them? Yes. And that's what they did with Bryant. I mean, you played 10 times, that might be 6-4, 5-5, maybe 7-3. But that night they beat them, and it impressed me. And you mentioned the special teams. That was the thing, is that I think I even mentioned this. If I didn't mention it, I've talked about it before, is that they're just a threat to score anywhere on the field. And it felt like if Bryant was going to lose, it was going to be like in a situation like that where there were some kickoff returns or a pick six or something like that. And that they're more than capable of doing that with Amarian Robinson and the speed. I think the speed bothered Bryant. And the thing is, they're so big and strong and fast that they very rarely, even against CBC, when they had Division I receivers, they still lined up with them good. But they're not used to having overwhelming speed. I mean, an example, at the end of the game, it's 4th and 7, and Jordan Walker's running to the first down marker, and all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Robinson or who, but one of the DBs came and cut him off 2 yards in front of the marker and ended the ball game. Well, against a lot of teams, he would have got the first down, but there's
especially one-on-one.
Yeah, one-on-one. I mean, it was a high percentage
yeah.
play by him to try to take off to get it. He saw the pylon or the marker and was going to dive to it. You know, he got 2 yards in front of it, cut off. So, so just going back to them, they're really, really good. They're probably going to, they're going to have a good chance to win all the rest of the games. And so you can kind of forget that notion that they're just a 5A school, blah, blah, blah. They're really good. They're well coached. And they've got a Hall of Fame coach as their defensive coordinator, and Bobby Boulding, and he and Brad have gotten along well. And that's
they've known each other.
They've known, they've known each other, and they respect each other's spaces. And Bobby was having a lot of fun last year. So in this particular game, the one thing I think you have to guard against is a little bit of a hangover. You don't want to come out flat, and you don't want to be still reading your press clippings from the week before. That game's over, and North Little Rock would love to get a win here. I mean, they would take a win over a 5A school at this point. You know, they beat them last year.
That was a crazy one last year. Yeah,
and I think it was one of the better games they played last year. They've got a lot of athletes too. I think the thing they're still trying to figure out is when you have a lot of turnover with coaches. I mean, they went 5 straight years to championships. And I think what you're seeing now is that it's finally catching up with them, that they've had different coaches. And they're Randy Sandiford, great guy, quit pretty abruptly after the spring. And then Clint Reed took over. Maybe still kind of trying to adjust to that. I did like what I heard, in your preseason stories about him. It seemed like they were responsive to him. And, they played pretty well against Fayetteville. So they've done some good things, but this is going to be a tough task for them. But I think definitely would want to try to win this, so that just for anything else to have some momentum, just like we talked about Southwest. If you go into the 7A Central not feeling confident, that's not a good thing, because you got to bring it every night there. There's from top to bottom, even Little Rock Central, you don't want to go in there, not ready to play.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Conway or Cabot this week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a gauntlet that's about to get underway in conference play, but we still have one more week left of the non-conference. We'll have highlights from all those games you mentioned, plus plenty more coming your way Friday night on the Friday Night Blitz.